Why hello there. So, requested custom tutorial. So we're gonna go a little slower with this one. We don't want to lose anybody. This would be more of like to me, I don't know, I'm sure there's a million games that have done this mechanic, but to me it's more of a Ultima Online style combat for the attacking portion anyways. So what I'm going to do is I made a beautiful little ISO square just because it looks pretty, and I placed it down. Actually I used two tile maps, so I got a floor and a wall, I guess you could say. And then I brought in NavMesh Plus, which is this guy here, which they've done some changes apparently, but works pretty good. So as you can see, like, I baked a little 2D NavMesh. So we're gonna have this guy as our player, and this guy is gonna be like an enemy, and we'll probably make a few of these. And this guy is going to attack this guy, and this guy will attack this guy. Pretty simple. So there are a few things. Okay, once you have the NavMesh Plus, and on the GitHub it has like install instructions. You might want to go over those just to make sure you have everything, but more or less I have an empty object that's rotated -90 on the X, has a NavMesh surface. Actually I don't know if it needs that. Oh yeah, no, it does. And then it has this collect sources 2D. So along things like turn this off for a minute. So along things like my tile grid, which my ground tile grid, it has a NavMesh modifier called walkable, and this one, the walls, has one that's non-walkable. So once you have those, you can literally just take this and go bake, and then it bakes it, and you get something that looks like that. So and there are a few little things you gotta tweak and play with in this situation, but really it's the best, one of the best ways to get 2D navigation. The other way is using the A-Star algorithm, and there's a free version on it. They have a 2D pathfinding system as well, and it works really well. Actually, I've got a video on that. So now one of the things I'll mention is, if you look at this guy, see how he's in front of that little block, but if I go down here he's behind the little block, and as I move him down farther he goes in front. And that's due to, if I go to my project settings, the transparency sort order I have to a custom axis and on one on the Y. Actually, I wonder if I can do that, or not that. I guess it would be that. No, don't do that. That's not good. But yeah, one on the Y, and then that will help you do this. One of the other things is, if you use tile maps especially, is to put it to individual compared to chunk, because individual versus chunk, the chunk kind of takes the whole thing as one unit, which is great, but as you can see, like, it's not functioning, because as far as the system thinks, like, it's one big massive tile. So we want individual. It's heavier in performance, but well, it does more. It's kind of the cost, right? And then you can see now he's behaving a little more proper. So the other thing we should probably do right off the bat is, let's take the ground and give this a layer called ground. Let's just do that. And then I'm going to take another one, add another layer, and this one can be AI. And this one can be player. Then I usually make one for like interactables and stuff like that. So like, okay, now we have 3 layers. And that can be important if we want, if we go into our 2D physics, collisions, right? Like we want, say, the player to not collide with the ground. I want the AI to not collide with the ground. We do want them to collide with the walls, but not the ground, because you're not actually falling, because it's 2D, right? Like the collider is technically here. I mean, it may look like they're underneath them, but technically they're in the same spot. So we don't want that collision. Now, the other thing is we're going to want to go. I'm going to prefab those guys for now. For our player, we're going to want to add a box collider, or a capsule collider even, I guess, would work. Capsule collider 2D, make sure it's 2D. Now, pretty important, you got to think like that collider, right? Like that's as far as I'd be able to get to that wall, right? So I can get here and I can get there. So you got to make sure to set this collider, and I'm actually going to go horizontal with it, and bring this down. I'm actually going to go quite small with it, like that, and put it down by his feet. Put a little higher. Something like that. Because now his collisions would be like, okay, now we're hitting the wall, but now we're hitting the wall here, right? It looks a little better. And because I have that on the player, I'm going to actually just copy that and place it on the AI. So the AI has the same collider. Now, the player, we're going to want to set the layer, and the enemy will set their layer, and the ground, we'll make sure to set its layer. Okay, life is good. The other thing we're going to probably want, for interactional reasons, is a rigid body. We're not going to want gravity because we're in a top-down. So we're just going to turn that off. And I'll copy that and I'll place it on the AI, because the AI could probably also use it. Not necessarily, but we'll see. And if we just hit play, I mean, technically nothing's going to happen. We have no logic. But they just kind of sit there. Beautiful. So, the player, we're going to add an FSM called a move. And I don't know if you're using the new input or the old input. It really doesn't change that much in the ways of how it's set up, but whatever. So we're going to get our inputs from us pushing the button, and I am going to, should I use a set velocity? Set velocity 2D. Now obviously this is a vector 3, this is a vector 2. It doesn't like to go in there. So I mean, you can convert vector 3 to vector 2, which I think is actually on the ecosystem, but whatever. All we really need is get vector 3 x, y, z. We just need its components, really. So we're going to take our vector every frame, and we're going to pull out the x, and we're going to pull out the z, and we're going to call that y. Z is the Y. Right? Now we might want to modify that with a speed value. Right? So we're going to make sure to put these in order. Right? So every frame, and let's take it up to like, I don't know, we'll say 4 for now. Let's just see how that looks. Right? Woo he is rotating. But I mean, yeah, I mean he is moving. Obviously we don't want them to rotate in such a manner. So we want a constraint and freeze the rotation. I'm taking off this script because we do not need it. Take it off the bandit. It does not need it. We're building our own. Damn it! We don't want them there scripts. All right. It doesn't look as cool because now he's not running, but yeah. Okay, so it works. I'm actually going to slow him down. We don't want him that fast. I'm going to go like a 2.5. Alright, so while we're at it, let's actually go in the animator and see how that's set up. This is just like the demo from the thing. Right, and this one is animation state. I don't know why people, well, I mean I do know why. You know what, I'm gonna get rid of this. Actually, I don't even need an idle, combat idle. I don't think. It's weird. I'm gonna get rid of those, get rid of that. Now we're just gonna get rid of this as well. We're gonna add our own. Should we do ghoul or float? You know what, floats are easier. So we're gonna add a float. So if we're in here, we want to go to run, and of course run, come back to idle. So if speed is greater than, we'll say 0.1, no exit time, bring this blend down to 0, go up to the run. In the run, also exit time, blend 0, speed, if speed is less than 0.1, now we can go there. So now we're just going to hop into our player real quick, and we can store the magnitude and set animator float. Speed with the magnitude every frame. We can give it a damp time if you really wanted to. That would help it be not quite as snappy. There we go. Now he is playing the animation the way he's supposed to. So now we need to let's control his flipping real quick, and let's base it on, I don't know if we should do that in the movement or the attacking. You know what, let's just put it in another one. We'll just call it flip. And let's get velocity for now. And really we only care about the X, I guess, on this thing. Not like we're flipping up and down, right? So we're just going to compare, and if the X is, say, greater than 0, flip normal. And actually, let's just copy that state. And if we're here, and if we are actually less than 0, you know, flip. we can come back. And then all we really need is a set sprite flip. You can also do this with just the bools as well. Actually, I think this one would be here. Let's see if we have that right. I often get that one backwards, so we'll test, just in case it's backwards. Right? Yeah, totally backwards. Nailed it. I nail it every time. So that one is false, and this one is true. I don't know how I got that. How did I flip it and it didn't flip? Okay, so that one's right and this one should be wrong. Something weird there. Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of confused with what that's doing. Or why that's acting that way. And now all of a sudden it's working. So this one's true. This one's false. Alright, well, say it false. I'm going to make sure I put those up at the top. Yeah, okay, well, I don't know why I had so many issues there with it. It was just weird. Alright. So there is that. Right? So we have some movement. Dun dun dun. So now the attacking portion's a little different, because for anyone who's played Ultima Online or anything like that, we're not attacking based on like an input of like clicking a button, right? We would have a target, right? So let's make a target variable, and we're also going to have a attack distance. You could even have a combat mode. Right, so I mean, essentially, if you are in combat mode every frame, if it's true, we'll just say combat, and we can copy that state and place it here, and this one will obviously be non-combat. Right, so non-combat, really you wouldn't do anything. You would just be sitting here idle. But if we're in combat, we would have something. We would have a is null. So we're going to have a target. Now, is it not null? We have target, and we're in combat. So we're going to go over here. Now we have an attack distance. Get distance. So us to the target. if we're in the distance, if the current distance is equal or less to, our attacking distance, we can attack. We're not attacking, but we can attack. If we're greater, we can just sit here and do idle. Right? Now, we're going to need a way to come back out of all this stuff as well. So, before we get into here, right, so if we're in combat mode, or say we're over here, we're not in combat mode, we're going to want to come over here, right, because we've canceled combat mode. We need to come out of there. The other thing is we also have is null, right? Do we have a target? Because if we don't have a target anymore, if it's become null, then we need to essentially go back this way. We're still in combat mode, but we don't have a target. Right? So now, if we are sitting, say here, that means we have passed, we have a target, it's not null. We are in combat mode. We have gotten the distance, we've compared, we are within distance, we are now here. Right, so I'm actually going to delete that and copy this one. So we can attack, we're going to go here from a can attack. Because here we want that same stuff. If we're null, we're going to go here. And if we are non-combat, we can go back up there. The difference here is the can attack. We're taking that out. If we become greater, we can't attack. So let's get rid of this can attack, and can't attack would go over here, right? So now that we're in here, we have a timer, right? So let's do a float add. We could also do a wait. Actually, you know what? I think I want to do that in another FSM. You could do some cooler stuff with it, right? So let's add a state right here, not connected, and we're going to say attack. And we're going to make this one a global, and it comes in like this. Right? And then we're going to add another FSM called attack timer. So if we're here, this timer needs to start ticking up, and if we're once we attack, it needs to reset. Essentially, I guess this timer could always be ticking up, and then once it can attack, once we're here, it could fire off, and then life is grand, right? So let's name this state. Let's call it attack ready. You could use a variable for this, but we're just going to use that. So here, the attack timer is, you're going to have a few different states. So we're going to have a float add. We'll call this our timer, and we could add, we'll say attack rate, right? And let's go over to our attack rate. Let's put it over here so we can see it down here, and then we can play with it outside the FSM without opening up the FSM. So we're going to add attack rate every frame per second, and then float compare. Actually, you know what would be a better idea than that? Maybe a little more universal. Is do we have a float subtract? Yeah, float subtract. Okay. So timer, let's subtract 1 per frame every second. So it's like it's time. It's just based on time. Right? So if timer is 0, or it's less than 0, then the attack is ready. Right? And then the attack rate can actually be a value, and I'll show you what that'll do in a second. Right? So it's just comparing. Now, while we're in this state, we know we have waited a certain amount of time, and let's default this timer actually up like 3 seconds for now. So if we are here, our attack is ready, we need to FSM state test. Right? We're going to test our same object we're on. We have an FSM called attacking, and in here we have attack ready. So we're actually going to use that state. So if that's true, do attack. Right? And then we can go here, and then we can set float value our timer to the attack rate, and then we can loop back and go here. Right? And when he does that, we also want to send event. We could almost use a third FSM for this, but I think we'll do it with just the 2 to the attacking to attack. So when this guy gets it, he comes here and he's like, oh, okay, we've done our attack. Our trigger, let's set our trigger of attack. And maybe we should have a small wait so we don't rapidly do anything without meaning to. And then we can just finish, and I don't know, we can go back over here, because I mean we should still be in combat, we should still be within range, so that it should zip through this stuff and be here. Unless we've moved away, then it's going to come back here anyways. Right? So let's, for now, let's come over here. So we have a target. I can put the target there. So if I just even make a square, and that square is going to be our target. We'll actually change that in play mode though. So if we look at the player, oh yeah, we're not in combat mode. I probably should have put a button there. So let's flip that to true. Okay, we've gone into combat mode. Now we're still not attacking, right? We have no target. We're in combat mode. We have no target. So the square becomes our target. Okay, we have a target, but we're not in range. Okay, let's move this guy in range. And let's make sure our Z's are all even. And you know, it would help if we're getting distance every frame. We'll have to fix that. For now, I'm just going to restart that FSM, and it should just go here, right? because now we're getting the distance. Oh, we don't have an attack distance. So let's have an attack distance of like 1 or something, right? So as you can see, like he's attacking, and if I move away, he's not attacking. I move in, he starts attacking. I move away. Now we have that attack there, so that we want to stop. Okay, so first of all, let's get distance needs to be there. And that needs to be every frame. Attack distance, let's give that a value. Say 1.5. So if we're here, I guess you could say, he sends the event. All right, let's just see. What did I do? I changed something. Something changed. That's the flipping. Oh yeah, combat mode. Really gotta add that in there. Alright, so let's go over here. Alright, because if we're in a timer, so I don't think this guy's heading back out. We need to make sure that is happening. This guy here. We come into here. Oh yeah, see how he's still sitting in the is ready? Because we're not getting distance every frame here either. Right, because now if I move away, he just instantly comes back out of that state and he sits back here. Oh yeah. So let's make sure his get distance is also on every frame. Now, you know what? Let's add another one just for another button. And you know what? I'm gonna if I remember right, and it has been a long freaking time, but if I remember right, tab puts you in combat mode in Ultima Online. So if we get tab, what do we want to do? We're going to get FSM bool. And this is just a sneak way to do the logic. We're going to go into the attacking. We're going to grab combat mode. We're going to pull it over here. And then we're going to flip, because we like to flip. We flip all the time. We're going to flip combat mode. And then we're going to set combat mode back, right back to where we got it from. And then we're going to head it right back over here. Make sure the action order is like bang on, because these things are happening in order. Very, very important. Right, you can see like now if I hit tab, it's okay, we're true, false, in and out of combat mode. Okay, cool, got that, bang, cool, get rid of that, don't need it anymore. So how do we set a target? How do we set this guy on the fly? Well, with Ultima, it's based on selecting them with the mouse, I suppose. So you don't have to put this logic on the guy. I'm going to, because it's just convenient, I guess. And all we're going to do is we're going to mouse button down. And we'll just call it click. So we've done a click. Bloop. Go over here. What are we going to do if we're going to click? We are going to UI over game object. Because if we're in the UI, you got something open, whatever the case is. I like to do these. So if we're over UI, we're going to skip this click. We don't want to listen to this click. The UI, we're playing with something in the UI, more or less, fuck off. If we're not over, let's just continue. Continue on our merry little journey. Whoop, we've come off. We're going down somewhere. We're not over the UI. What are we doing? We are mouse picking. Mouse pick 2D, not the 2D event, just the 2D. And we're going to store this. And we can even give that a mask. And we could say target AI. Or you can do AI and interactable. There's numerous ways we can do this. Right? And then let's just set FSM game object of our attacking to target, to target, to target, and then go back to the mouse click. Right? Okay, cool. So now let's test that. If I hit, well, okay, let's go into our attacking for starters. If I hit tab, we've gone into combat mode. I can go in and out of combat mode all I want with tab, my own special feature. So we're going to run down over here and we're going to click on this guy. Oh, right, we've attacked. Now we do have a minor issue there that we have to fix up. Now if I run away, I'm not attacking. If I go back, I'm still attacking the same guy. Right? Alright, so we have a couple little things we want to fix up there. A, he does not need to rotate. That's for one. So, we also, in this particular situation, we don't want AI and the player to collide. We're going to be able to run right through. The other thing is the clicking with the tiny little collider isn't going to do us very much good. Since our bandit's collider is so small. You know what I think we'll do? I am going to, let's go back to vertical. Ba-doop. And let's make him bigger. Right? And this guy here, this is the walls. So I'm going to add a new layer called walls. This guy can sit on that. So what I'm going to do is the AI is not going to collide with walls. Right? You don't have to worry too much with collisions with the AI because the AI is restricted to the NavMesh. Right? He doesn't want to go through walls because he wants to be on the NavMesh. Has to be on the NavMesh. Now the player, if we want to select on the player, we might have to add another collider to a selectable collider kind of idea, or play with some magic. But either way, it's all good. So let's add one more little feature here. Let's go to our canvas and let's add a canvas, scale screen size. Let's make sure we're not on free aspect because that's just stupid. There we go. And let's add a image, make it smaller. And I don't have a good image for this, but I do have something. I wonder if I should do something like that. right? And we could, I don't know. Yeah, you know, something like that would probably do fine for demonstrational purposes, to allow us to know our target, right? So if we go back over to our player, let's do another FSM. We'll just call this one indicator. And this is just a good habit, good practice. Get owner, new global variable, and we'll call this player HUD. And in the player HUD, we're going to have a game object variable called indicator. Doop. And I can drag this indicator there. So now it's there. Okay, cool. So the player is, we're going to get FSM game object. And we're going to go to, I guess we can go to most selection. You could go to the combat, but we'll just might as well maintain the same name. Is null. So if target is not null, you know, we're going to go over here. And if we're going to go over here, we're going to get position. I'm not going to go. I'm just going to go 3, or the vector 3. It really doesn't matter if you use a vector 3 or vector 2, whether you're dealing with 2D or 3D. Really, it's a little different, I guess, if you're in 3D and you're getting a vector 2. I mean, it still works. You just don't have the Z. But vector 3 in a vector 2 world is fine, right? Practically interchangeable. Vector 2s are, I think, lighter on performance. They have one less variable. So we want to get the target, though, of, or the position of the target. So there's target position. And we want to world to screen point the target position every frame, and we can get screen point. And then we want to set active, or activate game object, which also means we need to get the game object. So we're actually going to put this in a different state. We don't need to do it all the time. So this one here is like our references. We can't get references from global objects in the very first thing, like the very first frame. So what we're actually going to do is we're actually going to add a next frame event. Finished, and then that can actually come down here, and this is actually where we'll get the reference. So get FSM game object. So we know we have a manager called player HUD. It's got an FSM named FSM. It has a variable called indicator, spell it right, and this can be our indicator. And then we can go over here. Right. Okay, so now we're looking for a target. Okay, we have no target. Yada, yada, yada. We come all over here, and we can now activate our indicator. And we need to set position of the indicator world space to screen point every frame. Now we need to bring both of these in over here. going to paste them up at the top. So if we're null, no target. Right, so now we're here. Now the other thing is if we're over here, we have activating it. So if we're over on this side, we're deactivating it. All right, so right, we've clicked, we got our highlighter, we haven't hit combat mode yet. All right, and if I click somewhere else, see how it just goes away. So we click, and now if I move him, you'll see like that circle just follows him, right? Which is great. Now, looks a little funny though, the circle hanging out at his feet. So what we're going to do is vector 3 add XYZ, and we're going to take the screen point every frame. We're going to add an offset value. I can use a variable, but let's call it 100. I have no idea if 100 is going to way overshoot that or not, but we'll find out. If I click, yeah, we're way overshooting. Fair enough, easy fix. We just take that, let's bring it down roughly to about there, about 50. Perfect. Now, that's cool. I don't know if we actually need to send logic in to damage the AI, because that's just another FSM based off probably an animation event. But what about the AI itself? Just doing a small, so we'll say just to get them to, I don't know, wander around and attack real quick. Let's set that up. Right, so the AI is going to have an FSM. We'll call this brain, and we'll have another FSM called sight, maybe. So in the sight, what we're going to do is let's different ways to do this. It kind of depends on if you have parties or multiple players or lots of things. If you just got the one player and there's only the one little player there, it's only can be him. You could put him as a global and just test versus him. But let's do an overlap. Can overlap? Does that do 2D as well? No, of course not. Of course not. So, let's do overlap circle. You know, I could have sworn there was another, maybe it was ecosystem? That just would have been a lot easier. Overlap 2D, let's check that one. So, overlap circle. Radius is our sight radius. Let's put debugging on so we can see stuff. Mask is the player. We don't need to worry about depths and stuff like that. We do need an array. Hit objects. Let's do that. And offset, let's give this guy like a, so it's roughly in the middle of the AI then? Roughly, I don't know. We'll find out. Whole point of, I guess it helps if that was on every frame. Alright. Roll. Okay, so definitely, yeah. 0.5 would have been better. So how big do we want to make that? Let's go 5 and 0.5. There we go. So every frame, and let's say did hit, so we can bool test. Now we're only going to have one player, so we know anytime we see the player, it's going to be index 0. So as target, and we could always add a ray cast onto this for like collision, like maybe the player's behind a wall, but I won't get into that. We'll just go real basic. Let's just go get array get. So we know it's going to be index 0 because it's only the one player, and that's going to be our target. Right, and then we can finish. And then we're going to go over here. And then you can do this a few different ways, I suppose, because you could have it so right. So we have the target. So how do we? When does the AI lose sight of the player? Right? Do we do a get distance? Right? Because we say get distance from ourselves to our target, and if the distance to target is greater than, I don't know, 6, I said, we'll just say, I mean, you might want to go a lot bigger. If we're greater than that, go back, stop chasing kind of idea. Let's just run off over there for a minute. You also could have a get distance from our spawn point as well, and tied. You can have them both running at the same time, right? So the AI wants to hover around his area, right? Player comes in, chases. AI is like, no, I'm too far from area. I'm gonna head back now. Fuck you. And you can have that type of situation on as well. But that's okay. I'm gonna put this in. So if the player's gone too far, what are we going to do? We are going to do something and then head back up here, and this is going to have a next frame event. Right? We need to more or less tell the brain to do something. Right? So the brain could be sitting here and it has it could have a is null, target, and if it's not null, actually no, do we want to do target like that? If we want to do be a better way to do that. Yeah, is not null. Alright. Okay, well, here, let's just take a look here. Okay, let's have, what is the behavior of chasing and attacking? Just a very simple set agent destination. So this agent needs a NavMesh component. I'm just going to click and add that because we're going to need it. And we're going to go to the target. Now float compare, which also means we need a distance. And once our distance to the target is, we'll say less than 2, you know, stop and attack. And if he stops and attacks, what we're going to do, agent reset path. That will make him stop right now. And let's float add attack timer. We'll add 1 every frame. Float compare. If the attack timer is, we'll say, 2. If it's greater than 2, attack. Make sure that's all in order. So what is the attack? It's just going to set animator trigger. You give me that crap. I know you have triggers. Really? Really? You do me dirty like that? They called attack. You can't lie to me. So we're going to attack, and then we're going to set float value, our attack timer to 0, and then we can go back. And while we're also here, let's put this in there as well. So this will be our attacking behavior, a little very simple attacking behavior. Now if we're going to want to get distance, because you're able to run away. And if distance is greater, we need to chase. Go back up. Right, and we could say attack. Attack behavior. Whoops. Don't do that. So there's our little mini attack behavior. We're just going to get the distance, do stuff, chase, and we're going to do attacks, stopping the actual attack. Yada yada yada. There we go. So let's do a idle behavior. So what is going to be our idle behavior? Well, let's just wander, I suppose. Let's get position. Let's do this at the start. So this is going to be our start position. And we're going to random vector 2. Yeah, that guy there. So we're going to take a circle. The min length, we'll say, I don't know, 3. Max length 5. Y scale, actually, since we're ISO, that can actually come down a bit. Technically, it would be like that. Random point. So vector 3. No, vector 2 operator. We're going to have to use a I guess a get position 2D might be the easier way to go with this one. right? Because now if we did a vector 3, vector 2 operator, so random point and the start point, add them together, and that is our destination point, right? And we can set agent destination, not as game object, just as a destination. Is it going to let us use that? No, of course not. Screw you. So we need to get vector 2 xy, and we're going to need a set vector 3 xy z. Alright, let's alter the one vector 3 variable we have for start position. Let's call this destination v3. So these two need to come way down here. We don't want that anywhere up there. We're down here. So we're going to pull out from this destination point, we want our x and we want our y, and then we're going to have our destination, and we can use our x and our y there, and then set agent destination. Let's come out of there and get position, current position, every frame, vector 3 operator. So if current, so our destination to our current position, distance, which gives us a float. We'll just reuse that variable distance. Float compare. If distance is, we'll say less than 1, I suppose, get new. Alright, so now we're going to get new. So we're going to pop down over now into our site object here. So let's put a new start state. Let's put it here, and let's say send event to ourselves, to the brain, to idle behavior, and then go over here. And if we have this happening, let's do attack behavior. Now it needs a FSM, or a game object though, right? So up here we're also going to set FSM game object into the brain, the target, give him the target, which is this guy. So then he goes to attack behavior, he does all this fun stuff. This comes along here, and we're essentially just going to go like that. So he goes back to his idle. So now we should have this. Now, we have this one little issue, and I'll show you this beautiful little issue. Now, if I hit play, something magical is going to happen. You see that little AI guy? Like, what the hell? Where'd he go? That's the one downside, the caveat to 2D NavMesh. So what we need to do is on our AI, we have an action called update rotation, and we want to turn this off. Now, the other thing is that action won't cut it itself. We need one more piece of Playmaker, just forgot to add in anywhere. So I'm going to show you how to do it. We're going to right click and we're going to go edit script. It's really tiny, don't worry, it's like a line. right? So I added this line earlier. I'll just add it again so you guys can see it. So this is what it looks like inside that one action. So just kind of at the bottom here, which, I mean, you also could actually put it up there on top, but it's not really going to matter. So right underneath where it says agent update rotation equals that value, we also want to say agent. So we're talking about the NavMesh agent component. It says update up axis equals false, and then that's it. We just hit save. And that will stop the agent from spinning and tilting and doing weird shit. Now, we didn't adjust the agent's radius, so we should do that, right? And of course, there's another thing that we're going to fix too. So here we have angular speed. Let's bring their speed down like 1.5. They don't need to be that fast. Take that up to 10. This radius can come way down, like 0.2. Height can be like, I don't know, 0.5. Offset can be 0. So now it's sitting there. So now our little wander script does a random point somewhere around the AI, but it doesn't care about the NavMesh, so it's going to be able to choose points up here. So we can never actually hit it, which isn't no good, because the AI is just going to be like, I don't know what to do. What the hell you want me to do? You want me to go up there and I can't get up there? So he's just going to sit there and be stupid, right? So what we want to do is we want to just put a little alteration in this guy. So let's shrink these things down. And we're going to do NavMesh sample. And this is going to get the closest point on the NavMesh from a position. So we say destination, say a distance of, we'll do 6. And the nearest point found is this guy here. So this is going to be our set. We'll use that. And then we can use set. Right, so the destination plugs into there. This thing makes sure that we're on the NavMesh. Then we set the destination to the result. So now, no matter what, if the point picks a spot over here, it's going to push it to the closest point, right, which will be over there, and then this guy's going to wander around. Now, in between these little spots here, you also might want to put like a bit of a delay, right? So right now he's trying to get to a spot. His collider's probably stopping him from doing it, right? See, the distance is just a little big. And that's based on his collider versus this distance. We have to up this distance. Would be the easiest solution. But see, he just kind of bounces around anywhere he wants to go now, which is cool and all. So let's up that. But let's do this. Let's do a random weight of, I don't know, say 3 to 8 seconds. And then the other thing we could probably do is set agent speed. All right, let's put that up to the top. And let's put it to 1. And then over here, when he goes to into the attack behavior, let's go up to like 2.25. Right, so now he's going to wander over and he's like, hey, what's up? I'm hanging out in this corner. That's cool. He's going to be like, oh, I'm going to go over here now. And it's like, I like it over here. Like, yeah, you know, I'm going to go like up over there, I think. Or this way, yeah. Right, and that's what he's just going to wander around, but he's always going to stay within the area of his spawn point. He can never end up, say, over here. He'll always stay here. And that's because we're using this starting point as an anchor. We don't have to do this. We can actually put this piece right here, and then that anchor will always be where he's at. So then he can technically wander anywhere he wants. He'll just slowly wander all over the world. It doesn't matter, right? So you got kind of two different methods of wandering there. One's his spawn point area, and the other one's just a free roam. Off you go. And it's just literally just where you put that action. So now the player, if I zip over here, I don't know why it tries. You see how he's like chasing? Okay, so his attack distance is a little far. We're gonna fix that, right? But if I get too far, he's like, ah, fuck it. I'm just gonna go back, right? And he'll go back to his little spawn area, and off he goes. So let's go. That's the bandit. We don't want that guy. We want this guy. So his attack range was a little far. So we'll go 1.5. 1.5. So we had it in both spots. Make sure to change it both. The attack timer is fine at 2. Alright, so there's that. Now, here is something else. If I prefab our little bandit here, and then I say delete him. Now, what if I make a spawn manager? Right, and then let's put, if you don't have a Playmaker, get a Playmaker. Jiminy Jesus. Right, it's up here, down here in the ecosystem. If you don't have the ecosystem, get the ecosystem, right? That's in the welcome screen, in the add-ons. But once you get the add-ons, you get this eco browser, and this is where you can get tons of actions here. Make sure to get that. And there's a package called a Playmaker, and this is just a way better system for doing arrays. Okay, so if we have a spawn manager, and he's our, well, we'll just call it spawn. We'll call it active spawns. Active spawns. And we can have another list, and this is going to be AI. Alright, so let's give this thing an FSN. So, how do we want to do that? There's so many different ways of doing this. Let's give it a game object, and this is going to be our area. And we'll stick that over there. So, in the beginning, let's find game object by tag. And again, you don't necessarily have to do this. This actually could be, like, in reality, like we could do this, right? Like this spawn manager could have a circle, collider, trigger, and then like really big, like that big, probably even bigger in reality, but we'll go that big for what we have. And then up here, let's have a trigger event, 2D, make sure it's the 2D version, and we're going to have a player tag of that, and we'll say player in area. Player in area. We also want another one of these. We'll say player out of area. So that's on the exit. Player left. Right, so we're going to have two things. One's going to start the spawning and one's going to end the spawning. Right, so now what if we had we'll have an event. Spawn objects. Right, so this guy up here, when he goes there, we're going to send event to our other FSM, which we should name these FSMs. We'll actually call this one spawn. To spawn objects, and then just finish and go back. So what's going to happen when we get this event? So let's have a variable. Let's have a max number of spawns. All right, and you know what? Let's well, yeah, we'll do that after. So all we're going to do is we have a point here, and we can kind of do the same idea. Random vector, right? Then we could literally do, like, I don't know, make it probably a little bigger, something like that, and that's going to be our random point. And we can get vector get position, you know, so that's our, I'll just call it position. So we get those, and we are going to vector to operator. We're going to add those, position and the random position, or the atom point, add spawn point 2D, and then can we convert? I don't know if we convert. I think we lose the Z. I think that's fine. I think. Right. So spawn point 2D, spawn point 3D. The Z's fine. NavMesh sample position, we want to keep that happening because we don't want to be spawning AI not on the NavMesh, because that just leads to bad things. Let's give it a wider range though. And spawn point final, and create object. We'll call this AI. Set those to none. Position's going to be spawn point final. Store the created AI. Make sure we know what we've done. Move to the bottom. So there's kind of like this little cycle here. Now we're going to array list add. So that goes to the very, very bottom. We want to add to the active spawns this created AI, so we have a list. Now this spawn is actually not going to be here. This will be, so what we want to do is array list count is we're going to look at our active spawns, and if our count is less than our max number of spawns, spawn more. And if it's greater, it shouldn't happen. If it's equal, we'll just do a little wait. Alright, so we have a wait and we have a spawn more. Nope. Spawn more. So spawn more. So that, all we're going to do then is now array list get random, and we're going to go to our AI list, and we're going to randomly choose an item, and that's going to be our AI. And then we go down to here, and we spawn our object, we add them to the list, and then we more or less come back over here. Right, so we want to get one more thing. Is we're going to get owner at the very start. We're just going to call him self. And okay, if we're going to do a wait, let's just wait. No, just a second, and just loop back and forth. That's it. That'll keep that whole system alive. So, but we want to do one more thing. So in here, we'll say if we had an FSM called health or something, right? We're going to have a variable called spawner. And if we get, so I'm going to use this little guy. So these little events are really handy, right? So if custom events are the things that we make. These two events, like the system events, come from Unity, right? Like you can do the collisions. But I'm going to say on disable. So on disable, what is he going to do? He is going to get owner, self, array list remove, from the spawner, which has active spawns. Is that what we called it? And we're going to remove self. Make sure this is above there. Pretty sure that's what we called it, active spawns. Actually, I don't know if this disable would be a, well, I mean, it'll work, but because then after that you would want to, it depends if you're pooling it or not. But yeah, we'll go with that, right? So let's check. Did we call it active spawns? I did call it active spawns. So that means we also want to set FSM game object because we need to tell it what that spawner is. I'm actually going to drag him in here. Don't keep this reference because it's not going to work. The spawner is going to be self. Changes back to the created AI. Right? So there, now that just kind of goes like that. So he will spawn objects, right? And then if the player leaves, we need a way to more or less end all this. End the madness. Because we don't want just spawned objects all over the world because that's going to have performance issues like mad. Despawn. Yeah, I'll spell it completely horrendously awful. But it's not even a real word anyways. I'm pretty sure despawn isn't proper English. I still use it though because I'm me. So, what is our deupon event going to do? Well, very simply, let's just array list. No, we don't want to destroy that. Let's just array list get next. So let's go through our active spawns. So we need a loop, and we need a finished. Well, actually, I don't think we actually need a finished, but we're going to use a finished. God damn it! We have a current. So a result is current. So we're going to loop, and a done. Done can just sit there. It doesn't have to do anything. So loop. What are we going to do with this entire list? One object at a time. We're going to, let's just destroy. Destroy object. We're going to destroy the current because that's what this guy is, the result. And then we can finish and just go back. So that'll loop through our entire list and then whoop, there we go. You know what? We should also remove array list remove. So let's remove from the active spawns I don't know if we have to do that, because I think when we destroy it, you never know. It's going to do it anyways. It's not a big deal. Right? So, we should see, and of course I never linked that part up, so we should probably link that up. Right? So this little part here, let's just copy and paste. Player left the area. We don't want to spawn objects, and we never set it to a global. So let's do that. To deopone the enemies. Alright, so the player is sitting over here. We have nothing. We've entered the area, and you know what we never did? And by we I mean you. Oh, I did put it. I didn't think I did. Apparently I did. Well then, never mind. Okay. I didn't think I tagged them right. So if we enter this area, we should see our spawn manager. He fired, which went into here, and he's spawning because our total active count, apparently we never gave a number there. So let's stick that out here, and we'll say 5. And oh, what did we do? We did something. We did something horribly wrong. Alright, so let's set that to 5, and let's see what happened. So we spawned the 5. Apparently it spawned a whole bunch of objects. We get the position. We added them. Oh, you know what? I am an idiot. Because I did random choice, right? Here, we'll do this. We'll do... Oh, son of a bitch. Okay, let's duplicate this guy just so that we can see it. Like, this is Bandit 2. It's not actually going to be any different, but... because he's spawning a random object, right? But the random objects weren't never actually added in. So there's our little spawn list that we can draw from. So... now we should have 5. Oh my god! And when we leave the area, they go away. And they're just gonna go in the combat mode. Kick his ass. See, now it's kind of the downside. Is if we get too far. You know, and at that point in time, you might want to just kind of adjust this, right? So, I mean, yeah, okay, everything works, but that's pretty harsh. So we have a radius of 8.5, right? And I'm going to go set property and radius. 8.5, and once the player's in, let's set it to like 12. Right? So actually, I should have made it like 4 down here, right? So the player is here, and they've gone in. Oh, we have an issue. Oh, it's still showing there, but it's should be much less. It's still showing 8. I don't know, that's weird. Radius 12. You know what? You know what? Screw you. Screw you. I'm not gonna have the trigger exit anymore. You wrecked it. Completely fucking wrecked it. You know what I'm gonna have instead? I'm gonna store that player. And I'm gonna come over here and get distance to the player. And let's, if distance is, we'll say less than 12, you know, now we can deoppone, or no, if it's greater than 12, sorry. If it's equal or greater than 12, we will deoppone. So we don't have a player left. That's gone. That is our cycle. And then let's bring this down a bit. Actually, yeah, you know, we should bring that down for testing anyways. Let's not have this at 12. Let's put this to like 10. Now, the other thing we could add in here is the rate to which it spawns, right? Because here we have all this nice little spawning, and it's super freaking random. And by random, I mean fast. Totally not the right word. We actually could put a little weight in here. You don't have to, but you could. Right, and we come trucking along, and they just start spawning in. Nope, fuck, we're already under attack. Right, so we go in our combo, and we start attacking this guy, and we're doing our thing. Now, why did this one not go away? Deoppone. Oh, you know what? I think I'm gonna get rid of that remove. And then when this is done, array list resize. I don't think they have a resize on the array list. No, they don't. I think they just have the remove or the destroy. That should be. We'll check. Pretty sure it comes in, starts spawning. Oh my god, they're everywhere. I don't know how that did not get them all, though. That's kind of weird. It's like it's skipping them. Skip 2 of them out of 5. That number seems a little odd. Like, that's not really a coincidence. Like, there's something a little odd about that. I don't think destroying is going to be the right answer. You know what I think we should do? I'm just going to I don't want to deactivate. How do I want to deal with that? Because I should just add them to a list. Yeah, let's do that. Array add. But just a normal array, not the array list. We're just going to add. And this is going to be our game object destroy list. So add. Oh, whoops. It's supposed to be an array. Type of game object. Destroy list, add the current. And then at the end, let's just array destroy objects with an S, because that takes an array. There. And then let's array resize our destroy list when we're done with it back down to 0. So we're spawning our objects, come trucking along, we go back, properly destroy everything. Yes. Right. Now, how do you change the player to the player? Right? Like, I probably won't get into this tutorial. It's probably been long enough. But if you had different weapons, why is it this ground sensor? I can fuck off. But if you had different weapons, it's just a matter of changing the attack distance, and obviously your animation you'd play differently as well, probably. Maybe not, I don't know. And the attack rate, right? Like if I turn around and I said this is a distance of 5 and it goes at a point 5, oh, enter combat mode. As you can see, like he's goes pretty freaking rapidly and mess those guys up. And it's got all that range right now. They're moving a little fast, I think, for this style. You'd probably not want to have it go that fast. But I think that's probably pretty good. I think that is a good starting point for this style of game.